Hello everybody, today I'm going to be showing you guys the basics of Create Aeronautics, and since it's just a really new add-on for Create mod, there's not a lot of people that made tutorials on it so far, so I thought I would make a tutorial. And also, this tutorial is basically a list of everything I know. I don't know everything about Create Aeronautics, so there are some other good tutorials out there, but I thought I would just show some people. So first things first, you have to find it in the Create menu, in the Creative menu. Go to Create Simulated. It's not Create Aeronautics for some reason. It's Create Simulated. And then so there's going to be a lot of stuff here. And the most important thing so far is the physics assembler. Another very important thing is any handle. So first things first with the physics assembler, if you put it on a block like this, and then you turn on the physics, and then you can hit it like this to push it around. You can get rid of the physics assembler if you already set it to physics. So now I'm back in creative. There's another thing that they added, and it's called honey glue. It's basically super glue, but it's for physics. So like if I build the structure and I put the physics assembler on this, and I turn that on, it's only going to turn on physics for this one block. So what you want to do is you want to honey glue all the blocks inside of your physics. And then once you turn it on, then the whole thing will have physics. You can just put that, and then you can move it around. So now I'm going to show you what the iron handle does. I already used it in this example over here, but I didn't really show you what it does. So the first thing it can do is if you right click on it, you can kind of hold on to it, and if you use your scroll wheel, you can go up and then down. But if you want to move your object and you have a handle on it, you can shift click, move it around your whole world. So if you are in creative mode, you'll have an object called the creative physics staff. And so what that does is you can right click and then you can move something around in your world with it. And if you want to freeze it mid-air, you just left click while it's in the air, and then that'll freeze it, and you just right click it again and let go, and then it'll have physics again. So what the swivel bearing does right here is it'll rotate a force, and it's not like regular mechanical bearings, but if you put blocks on the swivel bearing, they'll actually interact with your world. And also on swivel bearings, the cogs on the side, there's cogs on the side instead of having it only have a shaft in the middle. So now if I put a creative motor down here and I put a cogwheel, it'll spin the whole swivel bearing. And with the swivel bearing, you can also put a shaft through the middle and it'll still turn. But if you put the shaft through the middle, it'll only turn the shaft. You can turn that while it's turning the shaft in the middle. So with the swivel bearing, it'll automatically turn it into a physics object if you start rotating the swivel bearing. So with something like this, it'll actually damage people if I turn this on. But I forgot to honey glue it, my bad. Honey glue also only works for physics objects. It doesn't work as regular super glue in normal create mod. So now I turn that create motor to the max speed that it can go. If I turn on this lever for that clutch, it will spin super fast, and if I go into game mode survival, and I stand here, it'll actually deal damage. I can't showcase that for some reason, but it'll actually deal damage to mobs. So if you want to torture sheep or villagers, you just put a box around and throw some villagers or sheep in there. Now we have these. This is the throttle lever, this is the analog transmission, and so if you put a throttle lever on top of the analog transmission, and I have a motor on that, you can see it's spinning the shaft in the middle, and it's also spinning the cogwheel on the side. So if I turn the throttle lever to the maximum, it'll shut off the cogwheel, but it will not shut off the shaft. And I don't think there's any way to shut off this shaft. You can do this exact same thing with a clutch and a lever, but with this you can only shut off the shaft, and with this you can shut off the cogs on the side. They're for two completely different things. But with the throttle lever, you have like an adjustable amount of speed that you can add on. So if it's for cars, you can make it go faster by pulling it down more, or you can make it go medium speed by putting it in the middle. But with the clutch, it's only an on-off switch. It's still very useful though. The next thing I'll show off is the linked typewriter. Now, so this is basically just like a controller for everything. It's basically like a redstone controller, but you actually have everything instead of just a WASD space and left control. Now the steering wheel is basically the same thing as a hand crank, but it has a limited amount of rotation. Now the next thing is the altitude sensor. So what this does is you can set a minimum and a maximum signal range, and if it's between those two coordinates, it'll activate and send off a redstone charge. Now the next thing that I really do know about is the redstone magnet, and what that does is it's a magnet. So basically, if I turn them into physics objects and I give them a redstone charge like this, they'll push towards each other. And so what you can make with these is you can make a maglev train that only goes one way, but it goes super fast. The next thing would be like a spring, and so you can kind of just like, it acts like a spring and it just pulls. Like if I pull it all the way over here, it'll pull it back. It just acts like a spring. It's not much different of anything. Now, the next super important thing is slime balls. So if something in your contraption falls off, you can use a slime ball to right-click on this and then right-click on this, like that, and it'll suck to each other. It sounded very weird out of context. Now we're going to go on to aeronautics. And so in the aeronautics tabs, there's this thing called the hot air envelope. This is what you use to make a hot air balloon. The second thing you're going to find is a hot air burner. And this is what you need to make the hot air balloon after the hot air envelope. This is going to shoot hot air up into the envelope to make it produce lift. Now, a simple way to use this is to use a lever to turn it on and off and on and off. But if you use a throttle lever, you can control how much, because the more redstone signal it receives, the more power outputs, and the less, basically the same thing. Now, after that, I don't know anything until we hit the propeller bearing. And so what that does is it basically allows you to make your own propeller, but you have to have rotational force on the shaft right here. So after you place that down, you can't use the symmetrical sails. You have to use the windmill sails. So now what you do is you place the sails on the side, and once you put rotational force on this, you can change the thrust direction, and it'll thrust either forward or it'll thrust backwards. Now, if you don't want to deal with the hassle of that, you can just use the pre-made andesite propellers. They aren't as strong as if you build your own, though. There's also wooden propellers. The next thing that I know about is the wheel mount. And so what this does is you can connect wheels to it. Like it's called a wheel mount. Good job. So now once you put your wheel mount down, you can put a tire on it, and then yeah, that's really cool. Now, something not a lot of people know about the wheel mount is if you turn physics on for it. So if you put redstone links on the sides of your wheel mount and you put signal to them. Now, if you don't know how to use redstone links, I will make another video on that on my channel in a couple days. So yay. Now, don't mind my username, but thank you all for watching. That's all I know about Create Aeronautics. And if you want to chat with me or any of my friends, join my Discord. The link will be in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.